Hello again, and good evening. As Dr. Joyce said, my name is Danielle Burch, and I am a senior art major from Boiling Springs, North Carolina. There are so many things I have learned in my time at Brevard College, and I cannot even begin to tell you what an honor it is to be able to thank some of you who have so generously contributed to my experience and to the experiences of my classmates. 4 years ago, I had no clue who or where I'd be today. I knew I wanted to go to college, but I had no idea what college held in store for me. 4 years ago, I did not even know I'd be at Brevard College. It wasn't really even on my radar. In fact, I could never have anticipated the events that ultimately led to my being here tonight. But really, it started about 17 years ago when I was only 5 years old. My family and I were at the beach for my dad's business trip, just enjoying the sun, the sand, and the waves. And for the previous couple of years, I had had some minor issues with the hearing in my left ear. Nothing major, but enough to cause my family to want to take some precautions like earplugs and avoiding extremely loud situations. One morning, I walked into the kitchen area in our hotel suite, and my mom started talking to me. I couldn't hear her, so I asked her to repeat what she had said, looking at me so that I could read her lips. Keep in mind, I had had some hearing issues in the past, so it wasn't really that unusual for me to be asking her about this. However, it did not take me long to realize that not only could I not hear my mom, I couldn't hear anything. My 5-year-old self then announced to my entire family that I simply couldn't hear. I was completely and profoundly deaf. Unfortunately, since I was only 5 years old, I did not comprehend the weightiness of the situation like my parents did. While I was concerned about floating down the lazy river, they were more concerned about what my life would look like if I was truly deaf. That evening, I found my mom crying on her bed, and I got her to look at me, and I asked, "Mommy, are you crying?" And she nodded, since talking wasn't really possible because she was crying so much, and I wouldn't have heard her anyway. My next question certainly didn't make matters any better. After she nodded, I said, "Is it because of my ears?" And again, my mom just nodded, crying and unable to really do anything else. And then innocently, but so truthfully, I said, "Don't cry, Mommy, at least I can see." And that statement had become even more true as I've studied visual arts for the past 4 years here at Brevard College. After that first summer, my family's life changed. I remember my parents searching all over the country for a doctor who could help me. But most of them said that I was too young, or that the surgery wasn't safe enough, or that there was simply nothing they could do for me. Eventually, my parents found Dr. Naparka at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. From then on, things began changing, for the better this time. Dr. Naparka had me wear hearing aids for about 3 months to ensure that I was profoundly deaf, which was a safety requirement for surgery candidates. I can still remember the uselessness of the hearing aids though, because, like I said, I was completely deaf, so they didn't really do anything for me. I remember coming home my first day of kindergarten and having no idea what the interpreter was saying, since I hadn't learned sign language yet because I lost my hearing so suddenly. We had never had any reason to learn sign language. We could just verbally communicate, but now I had lost that. So my first day of kindergarten was my first experience with an interpreter. I remember also not being able to sleep at night because I was scared that I'd wake up blind, or that something would happen during the night and I would be deaf and alone and not able to hear any fire alarms, burglars, or anything like that. But I also remember hearing my name for the first time in a year. I remember countless checkups, tests, and procedures. More than anything, I remember hearing. I'd like to say that the doctors at Johns Hopkins know how or why I went deaf, but no one does. Looking back, though, I wouldn't change being deaf for anything, because the way I see it, it's not a disability. It's a part of who I am. God made me that way, and He's given me my cochlear implant and all of my friends and family to help me overcome that. So, some of you guys might be wondering, okay, that's a great story, but how does it relate to my being at Brevard College? Here's how. In the spring of 2008, when I was visiting colleges, my mom and I flew up to look at Brevard College in Pennsylvania. I had had my heart set on being in Pennsylvania. I took my art portfolio on the airplane. They actually let me do that, even though it was way large and carrying on size. I toured the art department and the college and loved it. I loved that the history courses offered all revolved around the Civil War, and I loved the proximity to Philadelphia and New York City as far as my artwork goes. After meeting with the admissions counselor, my mom and I approached him to ask about classroom accommodations for deaf and hard of hearing students. He looked at my mom and I, shrugged, and said, "I don't know, sit in front of the classroom?" At that moment, I knew I wasn't going to Gettysburg. That day, I learned that first impressions are crucial, and that has carried into the rest of my college search and the rest of my life in general. When I visited Brevard at the end of my senior year of high school, I didn't know what to expect. The school was, and is, pretty small, about half the size of the high school that I graduated from. The first impression captured me though. I loved the mountains, the weather, even the rain, the small class sizes, the town, and basically everything about being in Brevard. Plus, I was given the opportunity to play soccer. I applied to Brevard and was accepted, and even awarded several scholarships, which have played a significant role in my college career. Without the generosity and support of donors, faculty, staff, friends, and family, my college experience would never have happened. At Brevard, I've been fortunate enough to participate in women's soccer, the Student Athletic Advisory Committee, the Honors Program, the Teacher Licensure Program, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and so much more. I've also been able to complete my senior exhibition in art, during which I did an entire mixed media series based on my experience with deafness. After that, I was able to complete my student teaching semester, which I actually just finished this afternoon, and host my very first solo art show. Without your support and the guidance of my professors and mentors, none of this would have been possible. Here, in these past 4 years, I and my classmates have grown into the people we are today. Here, we have gained so many tools and tidbits of knowledge that will carry into life beyond graduation. And not only academic tools and textbook knowledge, but applicable wisdom that will actually aid us in the real world. I know my fellow classmates and soon-to-be fellow graduates feel the same way. We owe a huge thank you to all of you for your support, care, and generosity. I think I can safely speak for everyone when I say thank you. Thank you so much. And I think we can all agree that if it weren't for you, we'd be helplessly stranded out there in the jungle that is life. So, again, I would just like to say thank you.